Gentlemen, we're watching the dumbest Russian Voyage nobody talks about. There's a lot of subs coming in, though. Don't hate, guys. A lot of fucking subs, dude. Okay, what do we have here? I have no idea.
There are an abundance of iconic combinations out there, like spaghetti and meatballs, a sorority girl in a white Jeep, or depression and alcoholism. But like US presidents and convertibles, not everything can be a match made in heaven. And as much as mother...
Ooh, there's a better film on this. Let me just watch this, man. Come on.
Russia would love to dominate the high seas. Nearly landlocked nations and stellar navies don't exactly go hand in hand. But for all the Russian Navy's dismal, underwhelming, pathetic lack of glory in the early 20th century, it's always important to look on the bright side. Like how it gives me good YouTube content. So on today's episode, I'm gonna learn you all about the misadventures of the Russian Baltic Fleet.
I feel like I've heard of this before, but that's a beautiful bird. Wow. Look at that bird. Dude, let me. Dude, that bird is so beautiful. Wow, man. Epic. Beautiful.
It's the turn of the 20th century, and what better way to kick off a new era than expansion? Russia is cold, which is great for things like stopping Nazis and badass TikToks, but not ideal for ports. Having your port turn to ice every winter is what those of us more versed in nautical terms would call not very cash money. The Russian Empire notices China has a pretty nifty port with, get this, warm water. However, there's this pesky little thing called a border in the way. But that's okay, China isn't European, it's not a real country, so Russia takes control and gets the Qing to lease in the port. Japan doesn't like what they see, so they meet with Russia and are all like, "Hey, vodka boy, invading China is our thing." But Russia won't share, leaving diplomacy dead in the water. But that's okay, the new DLC just dropped and everyone's just itching to try out their new toys. So
this guy is great, man. The new DLC just dropped.
Dead in the water. What is his weapon? But that's okay, the new DLC.
Musin Nagant? I only know the Musin. Arizaka 80. All these guns look kind of the same, don't they? Jeez, man.
He just dropped and everyone's just itching to try out their new toys. So the Japanese attack Port Arthur, kicking off the Russo-Japanese War. Fast forward a few battles and the Russians are losing pretty badly. So the Tsar authorizes quite the preposterous proposal of sending the Russian Baltic Fleet to reinforce the East. And you may be wondering, but Blue Jay, what's so preposterous about sending reinforcements? Well, kiddo, the Baltic part of Russian Baltic Fleet means it operates in, get this, the Baltic. And as
they must have taken weeks to get there, man. Thank you, C-Mobs, bro. Well played, man. You did a great job, man.
Boats don't like ice, so you can't go this way to Port Arthur, meaning the Tsar authorized a plan for an 18,000-mile journey around the world, which is 29,000 kilometers, or 1,140,480,000 gumballs. The voyage was also a logistical nightmare, as the Russians didn't have any holdings in Africa or South Asia to refuel along the way. Add that to the fact that the fleet spent months at a time frozen in port, so the crew of mostly uneducated peasants couldn't tell you the difference between a bowline knot and a porcelain pot. This group of inexperienced conscripts is put under the command of Admiral Rozhetsvensky, a man so prone to anger that his staff made sure to keep a large supply of binoculars at the ready due to how often he would throw them overboard. But hey, fuck it, what better way to learn than a trial by fire, right? So they set sail on their epic quest to turn the tide of the war and bring glory to the motherland.
Thank you, man.
And immediately the flagship runs aground and a cruiser loses his anchor. While they waited for the flagship to refloat, a destroyer forgot friendly fire was on and ran.
Whenever we watch these videos, it so often becomes apparent how much incompetence happened in military history. If you look at the entire history of the military all around the globe, it's full of stories of incompetence, man. It's quite interesting.
Into a battleship, prompting it to return for...
Sometimes maybe being good at war just means be less incompetent than your enemy. Maybe that should be in Sun Tzu's Art of War.
Repairs. Don't worry, men. Surely this can't be foreshadowing. As the fleet pushed on, a growing hysteria spread amongst the crew. They were afraid that at any second they'd be ambushed by Japanese torpedo boats. By Denmark. This is where the war is, if you forgot. But the crewmen didn't have time to worry about things as frivolous as logic. So when two fishermen approached the fleet to deliver a message, they opened fire. The two fishermen survived the false alarm without a scratch thanks to the horrible standards of the Russian gunnery. As for their message, they informed...
Dude, imagine! You're just chilling on a fishing ship and the whole fleet is shooting you and no one is hitting you. That probably happened, man. That's just how the world works.
Rear Admiral Rozhetsvensky had even been promoted to Vice Admiral. This wouldn't be the only false alarm, as later another ship signaled that she was under attack by 8 Japanese torpedo boats, only to find out that there were...
Walruses.
0 Japanese torpedo boats.
Very
There
nice.
was just nothing there. Having survived the Baltic, our heroes made their way towards Britain, where they encountered a small group of fishing trawlers at Dogger Bank. But surely by now our skittish sailors have learned their lesson. Ninjas! Straight at this bullshit! Chaos ensued as the Russians laid down hellfire upon the unsuspecting fishermen. The Russians are going bonkers. Some run around the deck aimlessly waving cutlasses to repel imaginary boarding parties, while others just
that's
cuddle
not
up on the
real.
deck
I don't
with
believe that for a
life
second. They were probably on deck with swords, but they didn't fucking fight imaginary people.
accepting their demise. Keep it up, men. These
Come on,
Japanese
that
have
can't be
horrendous
real.
aim, Igor. We haven't even taken a hit. But hey, at least this time we
Is
made
the
sure they
Czech
weren't
fleet?
fishermen first.
But I was wondering, wouldn't he fucking educate them? Like, you're on the sea for days. Wouldn't you, like, bring everyone on deck and then educate them, teach them stuff?
We're shooting at
Like,
fishermen,
how's
aren't we?
that
Definitely
possible?
a possibility,
Thank you,
sir.
Calcraft, man. Thank you, dude.
Well, at least we didn't fire on our own ships, killing a sailor and Russian Orthodox priest. The British trawler fleet were sitting ducks as their nets in
Maybe
the
he's
water
educated
prevented the
himself?
hasty
I mean, he's a
escape,
vice
and the
admiral,
Russians
man.
fired at them for 20 minutes
He's
before
some pure
realizing
Russian
their
out of school.
mistake. While this sounds like the setup for a massacre, you
alcoholism?
forget our heroes
Probably
are
a lot
about
of
as effective as a
alcoholism.
guy holding a fish on Tinder, sinking only one trawler and damaging 2 of their own ships. The battleship Oriole really captured the spirit of a TikTok pickup artist, reportedly shooting 500 shots without scoring a
pickup
single
artist.
hit. 2 fishermen and 2 Russians died in the mayhem, so at least the survivors can brag at the local pub that they tied with the Russian Navy. This event became known as the Dogger Bank incident and nearly ignited a war between Russia and Britain. The Brits just settled for revoking their access to the Suez Canal, forcing the Russians to make a slight tweak in their course. The slow, coal-powered fleet made its way
Dude, you know what I'm feeling? You could make an old school 80s comedy movie about this, like with Leslie Nielsen or Mel Brooks.
towards Africa,
You could make a
attacking
great
more
comedy movie about
civilians and
this.
cutting underwater telegraph cables along the way. They met up with some German supply ships to refuel due to the aforementioned lack of African holdings to make port. What nice friends, those Germans. I'm sure their relationship will last. Africa's pretty big, almost as big as my self-loathing, so they took on double loads of coal and kept giant piles of the stuff just sitting on deck. Definitely the kind of thing that lands
that
you
gonna
an
get
EPA
wet?
audit. But it's not like any sailors were going to die from black lung, except for the ones who did. Morale is low, so the Russian crew decides to lift their spirits by treating themselves to the exotic pets of Madagascar. Alright, man.
And for Leslie
You all
Nielsen,
can...
yeah.
Hey, Igor, stop sniffing glue for a sec, buddy. You all can go to shore and pick out one thing to bring back with you. Nothing too crazy, like snakes or crocodiles. What did I say? Sir, I can explain. Watch it throw back the shot at Tito's. The ship became a floating zoo as the crew brought on a bunch of
Fucking
animals to
Russians, I
roam the
swear to
deck
God.
freely, including a crocodile and a venomous snake, which apparently took a liking for vodka. Panic followed shortly when the snake wrapped itself around guns and bit a commanding officer. One sailor gifted the admiral a parrot, which soon took after his rather extensive vocabulary of Russian curses. The flagship soon became overrun with chameleons who would frequently go missing due to their
This
ability
shit's
to
like a fever
seamlessly
dream. How is that
camouflage.
real?
Hey Igor, have you seen Comrade Camo? I can't find the little guy anywhere. No, I don't think so. Have you seen him private?
Thank you, Han, man.
Yeah, I don't
Thank
think
you,
you've
bro.
seen him either. But a good zoo isn't complete without an underwater exhibit. And luckily for them, the cooling plant on their refrigeration ship broke down, forcing them to dump all their meat into the ocean and giving them a nice following of sharks. At one point, the fleet was holding one of many funerals for a sailor who died of illness. During the ceremony, the Kamchatka fired a gun salute. Excellent work, gentlemen.
No way.
Say, you boys did make sure to load blanks, right? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Can't be
Igor,
real. I don't
gonna
believe.
fail
I'm
there,
starting
buddy.
to not believe
After
this
some
anymore.
more shenanigans,
There was a funeral, and they shot shots for the guy and hit their own mates. I don't believe that for a second. Nah, that can't be real.
like foiling a mutiny and
It can be real if you actually think there's massive alcoholism involved. If there's massive alcoholism involved. Like, do you know that a legendary video, one of the funniest video ever? Wait. Russian drunk Mason. Can I find that video? Have you ever seen this video? If you look at let me show you this video, okay? And then if you watch this, everything makes sense. This video will make the whole world make sense. Watch this.
Ты давай ровней ложи, блядь. Вовка. Вовка. Ну, наливай еще, на. Вовка, чуть-чуть ровнее, блядь, правый. Ёбаный, Вовка. Стой на месте. Да ёбаный, вот тебе что, блядь, а? О, вот так ровно. Во.
Ja, mach ich dran, Junge. Dude, I'm genuinely mean this. If they were like this, it all makes sense. It all makes sense, dude.
receiving a shipment of fur boots and coats instead of
He
ammo,
was
Admiral
actually
Rosett's
sober.
he realized that they were approaching Japan.
Oh, man.
Oh shit,
That
that's
was
right,
the
I didn't
Russian
train
Navy.
them.
Yeah, it
So we
makes sense,
decided to
right?
run some gunnery practice on a stationary target. Miraculously, our group of misfits managed to score a single hit. on the ship towing the target. But hey, potato potato. At long last,
Sorry, man. That fucking video. Sorry, guys. What the fuck, man? They just fucking built a wall and no one cares. They just keep going and no one is like coming by like, hey guys, what the fuck's going on? They just built the wall, dude.
the Baltic fleet closes in on Japan, approaching the Tsushima Strait during the night. The
sorry.
fleet extinguishes their lights to maintain stealth, all except for the Orel, which, as a hospital ship, kept them burning in accordance with the rules of war. The Orel comes upon a Japanese ship in the dark. And finally, after an extensive list of false alarms attacking fishermen and merchants alike across half of the high seas, they come across an actual Japanese vessel and determine it to be Russian. So they use their lights to communicate with it.
There has to be alcohol involved, man. You can't make this story up, dude.
The Battle of Tsushima ensues. While our gallant sailors hold their own against the Japan, the Baltic fleet was decimated. 4,000 Russians die, with an additional 7,300 taken prisoner, compared to roughly 100 Japanese deaths.
Wow.
This effectively ended the war, marking the first time in history that an Eastern power defeated a European one. Way to go, buddy. Let's add that one to the scoreboard. Oh dear. So, in conclusion,
Jesus
the Russian
Christ.
Baltic fleet's odyssey around the world is a tale full of shenanigans and blunders, with our troublemaking peasant crew racking up quite the body count of innocent civilians and friendlies before seeing an actual
probably had the
enemy.
time of
And
their life,
yes,
dude.
while they may have attacked ships from practically
Until they
every
all
global
died.
power, disabled cities' communication grids, killed fellow sailors with gross negligence of safety practices, nearly ignited a major European war, and were about as accurate as Helen Keller playing laser tag, they also taught us snake
I'm
to drink
running out of time, guys.